Okay, so first thing before we start is I'm going to be on my winter break for at least the next 2 Mondays. We'll have to see about the 30th because I'm scheduled to fly back into New York on a red eye on Sunday night. So we'll see if I am up for giving shiur on Monday the 30th. Okay, but I'll let you guys know either way. Okay, so we are back to Mishlei. We're on to 12:3, and I'm going to assume that this is not connected to the previous one, but some of the Parshim say it is. I guess we'll find out. Okay. Lo yikon, and it's been so long since we did the last one anyway, and since a lot of people weren't here, then we'll assume that it's not connected. Okay. Lo yikon adam beresha v'shorsh tzadikim bal yimot. Anyone want to try taking a stab at a working translation here? Anyone?
A man does not think.
Are you trying to say because of kavana?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no. So this is like from I think it might be related to hachana, but Cain is, let's see what the BDB says, to be firm, or to be set up, to be established, or to be fixed. Interesting. It does say it is to be directed, to be prepared. Yeah, it is hachana. Yeah. So lo yikon adam beresha, a man will not be firm, let's say firmly established, okay, beresha,
in wickedness.
And then let's keep in mind that the bet in Hebrew can be many things. So in, with, upon, okay, we'll keep it flexible. V'shorish tzadikim bal yimot,
and the root of tzadikim.
The root of tzadikim.
Is that Baal like al or like will not?
Baal is like not, like Baal Tosif.
Yeah. So he will not emote.
Emote. So emote is, let's look at the BDB. Emote is to totter, shake, or slip, dislodge. I like saying falter. Is that not here? Yeah, that's not here. Okay. Yeah. Will not or budge, maybe. Yeah, I'm gonna maybe alter, not alter, maybe our school says falter. Okay, falter, move, budge. Okay, words like that. Okay, so that is our working translation. We have no Metzudas David Sion. I mean, we have no Sadigon. Targum, I think, just as a straight translation, Lo nitkan bar nasha berisha, a bar nash, which is a son of a woman, meaning a human being, a man, person, will not be nitkan, will not be set up with wickedness. The ikarahon the tzadike lo nazua, and the root of the tzadikim will not move. Okay, so I think that's a straight translation. Art Scroll says a man will not become established through wickedness. Okay, let's add through to the mix. But the root of the righteous will not falter. By the way, you notice that you said and I changed this to but because I think it is a contrast. So that's our scroll. Living Knox says a man cannot be established through wickedness. Sorry, Living Knox says, yeah, a man cannot be established through wickedness, but the root of the righteous cannot be shaken loose. Okay, shaken loose. All right, we'll add that to the mix. Shaken loose. Alter says a man will not be firm founded in wickedness, but the root of the righteous is not shaken. Yeah. Okay. All right. So straightforward translation here. What are the questions?
What does he mean?
Yeah.
What does he mean by established through wickedness as opposed to engaged in wickedness?
Okay, so what does it mean to be established in this context? Yeah, Rivki?
Also, I think it's interesting that the first half just says, like it's talking about a person, but a person that is something to do with wickedness. But then the second half is specifically speaking about like tzadikim. So,
okay, that's a good question. Yeah, okay. So let's see here. What do we make of the fact, let's put it this way. In what sense are the two halves opposites, right? Okay, so I'll elaborate as Rifki said. The second half is explicitly about tzadikim, okay? But the first half is not about, doesn't use the term Russia, but rather a person who engages in wickedness. Yeah, so it's not exactly the opposite. It's not the opposite we would expect. So that's a good question. Yeah, Chaim?
Yeah, just to add to that,
Yeah.
excuse me, just to add to that a little bit. The subject of the first half is a man,
Yeah.
and the subject of the second half is the root of Tzadikim.
Okay, that's all. That's another good observation. Okay, yeah. So additionally, okay, the subject of the first half is a man, whereas the subject of the second half is the root, okay, of the righteous, the tzadikim. Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, so it's not exactly opposites. So yeah, and that actually just raises the question: what are the opposites? Is it man versus root, or is it man through wickedness versus tzaddik? The established and shaken loose do seem to be opposites. So that at least we have going for us. Okay, what else?
What does root mean?
Yeah. What does root mean in this context? Yeah, Abigail?
What exactly is the root? Is it assumed to be righteousness?
Yeah. So are you saying, so root of the righteous, are you saying is the root also righteous? Is that what you're asking?
Meaning, what are they rooted in?
Oh, okay. So hold on, let me just think about this for a second. I got to translate this because we already have the question, what does root mean? So the root of the righteous. So, okay, fine. So what are, so hold on a second. I'm struggling with this. I'm trying to frame the question in a way that doesn't take a stance on this first part. So let's say roots are always in something. Okay. What are these roots in? I think that captures the question. Yeah. Okay, I'm putting in parentheses because I think it's just an elaboration on this first question, but it's still a good question. What else? Yeah, Alex.
Couldn't you potentially look at the whole thing through the botanical metaphor? Like when you plant a seed, it'll like establish roots. So it could be saying in the first half that through wickedness, you can't like grow roots or whatever.
Okay, so let me just pause you for 1 second here. So if you're asking a question, then help me understand what the question is. If you're giving an answer, then we'll wait till we get to the answer portion because we're still on the question portion.
Well, I was asking a question.
Sure.
It seems like people have been interpreting it as two separate things, like
Okay.
being established and roots, but couldn't you potentially look at it as both being botanical in nature?
Okay, so I'm going to actually add that to the second question here, which is, does the botanical analogy extend to the first half? And if so, how? Right? Because it would be nice if it extended to the first half, but it's not using botanical terminology. That's good observation. Yeah, Chaim?
Yeah, a couple questions. One is there any sort of nuance being alluded to in firmly established versus just simply established?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to modify this question. What does yikon mean? Okay. Does it simply mean established or firmly established or something else? Yeah, because I translate it as firmly established.
Mhm.
Sorry, that should be an ed. But that's just because that's how I would normally translate it. But I don't. We can keep it open.
Okay, and then I know this is like a pretty basic question, but like who's the audience of the pasuk?
Yeah. Okay. So
It just seems very, very, very general.
yeah, who is the audience of this pasuk? Yeah, that is a good question. And we might as well ask our other usual question here. Okay, what is the practical application? Right, because it doesn't.
Yeah, then also what's the havam,
Yeah. Okay, I'll add that as well. So it doesn't seem to be identifying any decision making, any behavior here, any decision. Okay, and then what is the hava amina? Okay, which means, i.e., what would we have thought if we didn't have this pasuk? Yeah, hi.
Yeah, I don't know if we asked this yet, but what's Russia and Tzaddik?
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm glad we asked that, because it's actually been a little while since we've had a pasuk about wickedness and tzadikim. I think. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know how long it's been, but yeah, we were out of those for a while. Okay, so what? Let's see here. Okay, what do wickedness and righteousness mean in this context? Yeah. You have another question, or is that a residual?
Yeah, that was one.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else?
Can you scroll down a little bit just so I can see?
I think there's at least one more basic question that we have not yet asked, or two, depending on how you count it.
Who's the audience?
We asked that one.
Oh, sorry. That was like the last.
Yeah.
I got what are the cause and effect relationships between these pratio?
Okay, yeah, I would ask that. I'm just gonna ask it in a simpler way, which is why not? Okay. Why won't a person be established through righteousness? Sorry, through wickedness. And why won't the root of the righteous falter? Okay. And then I'll put yours in parentheses here. What is the cause and effect relation? What are the mechanics here? What are the cause and effect mechanics here? Okay. I believe those are all the questions, unless we're missing something. Okay, so I guess we are up to our thinking minute. Okay, so let us do what we usually do and take a minute to think about this, and then after our thinking minute, then we will we'll go with people who have full, complete approaches first, and then we'll take half-baked ideas after that. Just plug in my computer. If I may just state another question, which is not a question like for the list, but just something to guide your thinking. I don't know about you, but those of us who have learned Mishlei a lot, I feel like the first half seems to be much more Mishleic cliche, and the second half seems to be much more like, what is it saying? You know, so the challenge will be to understand, is this giving us a new idea? And like the whole pasuk is new, or is this like a basis and then like the new idea is coming from the second half? I gotta get water. Okay. I'm gonna add another question also. Okay. In the mushal, isn't it weird to say the roots will not budge? Like if you're talking about a tree, so I understand the tree will not move if the roots are established, but saying that the roots will not falter, roots are things that don't falter anyway, because the roots are in the ground. So it's a very weird mushal. You know, like if I said that, you know, that there's a huge hurricane and the buildings didn't even shake, you'd be like, oh, wow, that must mean that the buildings are strong. But I said that there was a hurricane and the foundations of the building didn't shake, or the roots of the trees didn't shake, you'd be like, why would I think that they shake? You know, I guess that's part of our question about with Lamina.
Doesn't that, I don't know how this relates to anything, but doesn't it depend on what medium the roots are in? Like if it's sand or if it's concrete?
That's
you know?
true.
So
That's true.
maybe there's something.
I guess I'm assuming like, you know, the normal trees are in something that is at least stable enough to hold up the tree and that they're underground. So that's, you know, in most cases, I would assume that the roots are stable.
Right. But then you could also say if the roots are imperfectly planted through some other, you know,
That's true.
learning, or I don't know. I don't want to go too far with metaphors right now. So
Yeah, that's true. If the roots are in something that's not very
stable.
yeah, that's a good point. Okay, anyone have any ideas? Ooh, no one's leaping up into the line here.
Yeah, it just seems like
Oh.
very like you said it on the first half, but like I feel like a lot of this pasuk is very cliche, like, oh, good things happen to people who do good things. And ooh, I'm trying to like
Okay.
find something that's not just like really like classic, you know?
Okay, yep, that's the challenge. Okay, Rivki.
Yeah, I don't have like a full idea because I think that was Chaim. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
But I have like just like a starting point of like what I think, like who I think it's talking to, which I think could like help.
Okay, that's a good starting point. We need the key just to isolate a little bit of methodology here. Hopefully, you remember what you say is whenever you have a pasuk that seems like a cliche, or that seems completely overwhelmingly difficult, the trick is to find any foothold. Okay, so footholds we've identified so far are the lack of opposites. That was a solid foothold that it doesn't quite line up. Another foothold is roots not faltering. Another foothold is the what's the practical application. Another foothold is what is the havamina. So we do have some footholds here, but those are going to be our inroads. Yeah, Rifki, what's your half idea?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think that it's speaking specifically to someone who is like not necessarily in either category, because it says like a person that is established in wickedness, like not like a Russia. And I'm thinking that it's like not just like any person in any situation, but I was actually thinking that it's a little bit more, it's general and specific, because I think it's like talking about someone who's trying to like figure out how to establish themselves, whether it's like in a job or in any like situation in life. And there's obviously many like directions that could be taken. And I think I think it was your mom, like I think what she was saying about roots being planted in one place or another, that if you plant, let's say like a tree in a place that's poisonous, then obviously that won't end up being a fruitful tree.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with like the positive side.
Right. Okay. So I think that's a good starting move, that we're talking to someone who is not yet a wicked person. We know from many psukim that the wicked will not what do you call it, last. I'm trying to think if we had a pasuk about that in recent. It's very hard to know which psukim we did recently. They all kind of feel recent or not recent. I'm just really quickly looking here. Yeah, no, that's going too far back already. Okay, fine. Yeah, so we're talking to an average person who is trying to establish himself through wickedness. Okay, that actually gave me an idea, but I'll hold on to the idea until I hear what you guys say. Okay, solid move. Yeah, Ariel.
Yeah, I kind of want to take the like, what does it mean for a man to not be like my question is like, what's the difference between the root of tzadikim versus like a man like not being rooted in evil? Why does it just say it will not be firmly established? I just want to take like that.
Sure.
That's
I actually wanted to say, I just want to add something that you made me realize another thing. So not only what does the root mean, but what is the difference? Actually, I can make this a new question. What is the difference between saying that the root of tzadikim will not falter versus tzadikim will not falter? Yeah. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Ariel.
Yeah, I want to say that the root is like it's not flexible. It's kind of firm. It's kind of like like concrete. It's not something that can easily be broken.
Okay.
And like the system of tzadikim is that like that it's a proven model almost. It's kind of like established that tzadikim are kind of like, great people and everything great, happens around them, whatever.
Okay.
Right?
I'll let you
Okay.
off the hook for that one. Yeah.
But you know what I mean. I obviously.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I also, if you want to, okay, let me put it this way: if you want to prove your Mishleic, macho Mishlei, you should be able to articulate why, right? No, don't just fall back on Mishleic premises. I'll let you go for now. I'll let you go for now while you say the idea.
It's been a long day. All right, it's night. I didn't eat anything yet.
Oh, okay.
Just let me go.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
So, kind of stop laughing.
I didn't realize that hunger prevents people from understanding how righteousness works in Mishlei, but that's okay. I learn things new every year also. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, I'll let that slide. Okay, so okay, fine. However, I think that so now the question is, now what's the difference between a man will not like firmly be established in wickedness? Like established kind of means like, it's established means that it's like another word for root, like you're rooted in a specific thing, right? So I think like man at heart, like by nature, is not necessarily an evil person. It takes a lot for someone to be evil.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through a lot of activities and actions to get to a certain point of being wicked. And I don't think at heart, people wake up in the morning, and your average person wake up in the morning saying like, oh, I'm gonna be wicked and kill people or rob bank, whatever. There has to be some sort of extraneous thing for someone to do that, right? So that's kind of like an opportunity where you can bring someone back from that, like you can it's like it's talking to a person who, and I think this is what Rifki's saying.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. I understand. Okay. So let me just articulate the two directions here. And this kind of, to me, I was so not thinking along those lines that I also want to, it's possible other people are in this trap also. Okay. Not trap. So I was thinking that this meant if you are wicked, then you might think that you're going to be firmly established, but you will not be. But I think what you're saying, Ariel, is it's not talking about a wicked person. It's talking about a person being rooted in their wickedness. Is that what you're saying? That a person will, it takes a certain, I don't want to call it development because it's not positive, but it takes a certain amount of like, we'll use the word development because I don't know the other word, development in a certain lifestyle to really be rooted in wickedness. Is that
the last part that you said? Yeah, exactly. What's the first thing you said, so I can? Well,
the first way that I said the pasuk, the way, like, in other words, the normal thing that I was assuming this was saying is Rishaim do not succeed; they're destined to fail.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
And you're not saying that. You're saying that.
Yeah, because I don't. Because
like this, let me just say it clear: is that I was looking at it as this is about how long lasting the Russia's success will be. But what you're learning, I think the way you're learning it is this is about a person's relationship to his wickedness. Is that how you're?
Yeah, I think so. I just want to just make sure I get this point across. I'm not, when you say his wickedness, I mean, I don't think that like an action of wickedness will define him as being wicked. I think. Okay, what I'm doing now is wickedness, but that's not who I am at heart. Like I'm not rooted in evilness. I'm just, I happen to be engaging in something that's wicked, and that's because I don't think man is inherently wicked. I just think that, you can teach him from right or wrong. Like, I think I heard this from you, like evil, evil is the absence of good or something, or like darkness is the absence of light. And the question is like, do you say the same thing about being a good or evil person? I think something.
Yeah, it sounds like something I would say.
Yeah, so that's kind of
referring to the Rambam in the Rambam in the Moreh Nevuchim 3:10. says that all evils are privations, are like lack of something, and good is an existing thing. Evil is just a lack of something. So just like there's such a thing as light, but there's no such thing as darkness. Darkness is just the absence of light. There's no thing of darkness. And so you're saying that with wickedness, there's also no such thing as wickedness. Wickedness is just the absence of goodness. And therefore you're saying that like, so that's a really interesting idea. So now I understand what you meant for the first part of the tzaddik. And when you said it's a proven system, you're not talking about the fact that the tzaddikim are going to succeed, which is true. You're saying,
I'm not talking about like one specific tzaddik. Look, the reality is that tzaddikim have fallen. I'm just mean like the system of a tzaddik as a whole.
Right. In other words, when you are a tzaddik, you are. I'm gonna use kind of like vague philosophical terminology here, just so we can get the structure of the idea. A tzaddik is someone who is actualizing their nature. Right. The nature of a human being is to perceive truth and to seek justice. Right. So like that's what a human being is capable. That's what makes a human being unique, is that everything else in the universe is just doesn't have everything else, all the other physical creations don't have minds, and they're part of systems, but they don't choose to align themselves with the systems or to bring about the systems. The human being has a mind, can perceive God's chachma and perceive the lawfulness, and can perceive, how resources are allocated, and then can say, I'm going to align myself with that, and I'm going to distribute these resources in a way that's going to make everything thrive. So that is what a tzaddik is, and that is something that's rooted in their nature. Whereas a person who is Russia, you can't really say, you could obviously become a Hitler, but a Hitler is just an extreme deviation from his nature. There is no such thing as evilness that he's rooted in. It's just a severe lack of he's living like an animal, right? But in other words, it's to borrow terminology from the way that I explained the idea in the Rambam, like good and evil are not just like two flavors of ice cream. It's not like vanilla and chocolate. Like you could be good or you could be bad. No. To be a tzaddik is to live in line with your nature. That's a positive thing. And to be evil is to just not be living in line with your nature. There is no anti-nature. You can't actualize something that doesn't exist. You can't be an embodiment of evil. We don't have Satan like the Christian Satan in Judaism. This is a very philosophical point. This is not our usual Mishlei, but it's a really good idea. All right, you want to add anything?
I think that's the first time you really liked an idea and you said it's a really good idea.
Hold on. Don't put us down approval yet. We'll have to see if it plays out, but this is a really good direction. It's definitely a good idea. Yeah. We have to see, it doesn't feel, we have to develop it Mishleically though, right? Okay. So before I call on anyone else have anything to add to this idea? Because I really want to we got this one on the line right now.
I just have
Could you
it's not an idea.
No.
Rivki has her hand up all nicely, so go ahead, Rivki.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I still have that student in me. But I was just gonna ask, because I was thinking, is it really that simple? I don't think I learned that Rambam inside, but is it that simple that man's nature is rooted toward striving for justice and finding truth? And I know there's that strive for truth, but I feel there's also other things that I feel I've heard in Judaism and sources that point to the opposite direction.
Okay, so let me give an analogy using a botanical mushel. Okay, so a human being is like a seed, and a tzaddik is like a tree. Okay, or a plant, whatever you want to say, flower. Okay, pick your plant. Okay, so what is a tree? What is a seed? A seed is a potential tree. Okay. And the tree is the actualized potential. There is no such thing as an anti-tree. A seed cannot become an anti-tree. The only thing a seed can do is the seed can have its potential blocked, or it can have its potential even destroyed, but it cannot flourish into an anti-tree because that's not what a potential is. So that's kind of the model that I'm suggesting based on what Ariel is saying here, which is that a human being is a potential truth-seeking justice doer. Okay, like that is what a human being is. So the tzaddik is someone who's actualized that potential, and the Russia is not actualizing the potential, but there is no positive entity of a like, of an anti-tzaddik. So let's take the strongest form of the Russia. What is the Russia then? So the Russia is someone who could be very, very attached to fantasy, to falsehood, and be very attached to injustice. Okay, but they still have that potential, that part of them that can perceive reality and that can seek justice, and it's just being squashed or overruled or suppressed. And that's what this is a very I'll say it one more time, even though I don't know how it's going to play out. This is a very, very interesting, good idea, which is that a person, this is really showing the potential for tshuva, because, I think if you have this model of intrinsic evil or a person being damned, so then once you cross a certain threshold, then like you've destroyed all potential for good. Judaism does not have an idea like that. There's always a potential to be good. And even the worst Russia, arguably the worst Russia is Menashe. And, one of the worst, he's definitely on the top 5 list, and so, and Menashe did teshuva, now he couldn't undo the, I'm not talking about Menashe like Yosef's son. I'm talking about the Menashe, the evil king of Yehuda, the one who did the tipping point for the Beis Mikdash being destroyed. So that's pretty bad. So it's true, you can get to a point where like God will not, remove the consequences of your evil, but you cannot like fully extinguish that human potential. So tshuva is always there. And that is the idea of, we say in the Ela, the reference is that God's hand is always open to do tshuva, and he does not want the death of the Russia. He only wants him to do tshuva and to live. That is this idea that you're never hopeless in Judaism. And there's that let me see if I can have it on the shelf here. Hold on. In terms of the Tanaim, one of the worst Rishaim is Elisha ben Avuya, who was Rebbe Meir's Rebbe, who was a heretic. And if I can't find this right now, then so Elisha ben Avuya became a heretic, and he heard a voice from behind, from heaven that says, "Shuvu banim shovavim," return you wayward sons. And then he heard it say, "Chutz me acher," except for Acher was his nickname, right? So except for you. Right. So I don't know if this next part is in the Midrash or if this is an interpretation. I heard this in the name of the Rav. So I don't know if the Rav was just quoting the Midrash or if this is idea. I can't find it right now. That he said, what are you supposed to do if you hear from heaven if you hear a voice from heaven that says, everyone do tshuva except for you? What are you supposed to do? Anyone?
Do tshuva.
Say again?
Do tshuva?
Yeah, is ignore the voice. Okay, is that we have this principle that everyone can do tshuva. So I think what this idea is bringing out is why everyone could do tshuva, because you that is what the nature of goodness is that it is always an actualizable potential. And again, I'm not let me just make it clear here. I'm not saying that like there is a thing where you get to the point of no return practically, like you're so far gone in your wickedness that it's unlikely that you're ever going to get out of it. That is like a statistical probability. But I'm saying like conceptually, then anyone who this pasuk is talking to, no matter how bad they are, then they can always like tap into that humanity again. Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments on this idea? Chaim, do you still have something? Yeah.
Yeah, I still got yeah, so I like all these ideas obviously, but like how are we tying this into the pasuk exactly? And like what's Ariel's idea in the pasuk?
So okay, good question. So Ariel
like
is saying,
yeah, I mean al ragel achas ideally.
All right, so let me try doing it in the one sentence summary here. Okay, so Ariel is saying that because wickedness is not a thing, okay. I'm going to put this here in quotes because that's where I have to give the whole long explanation. Okay. Therefore, it is impossible for a person to be firmly established in their wickedness. okay, no matter how wicked they are, they still have the potential to do teshuvah and actualize their humanity, i.e., as a truth-seeking justice doer. Okay, for this reason, Tzadikim, the root of tzadikim, i.e., their potential as a truth-seeking justice doer, okay, is absolutely firm, and we still have to develop this mishleic. And what that means is, again, this is not like, okay, when we talk about potential, there's different kinds of potential. There's the potential of a seed growing into a tree, which is a developmental type potential. And then there's the potential of, like, you can paint, the wall could be painted whatever color you want it to be painted. Okay. So the wall being painted whatever color you painted, it has the potential to be any color, but that is not a potential that has like a developmental trajectory. It's just like, you can make it red, you can make it blue, whatever, What we're saying here is the choice to become a tzaddik is not just like choosing a color of paint or a flavor of ice cream. It is, you're becoming what you were designed to become. You're flourishing like a tree. Again, this is why I think it uses the botanical muscle here. You're actualizing your latent potential to be a truth-seeking justice doer. So there's something more firm about that. Now, again, we haven't brought this home to a Mishleic idea, but that's how he's seeing it in the pasuk. I hope that is clearer. Yeah. Okay. So the question though is what's the Mishleic punchline here? Like what's the practical implication here? And we've also said the audience. The audience is someone who is, I think the audience here is what we said before, is it's someone who is involved in some measure of wickedness. Okay, he's not a full-fledged Rasha, because that person is not in the audience of Mishlei, even though this pasuk is about him. But we're talking about someone who's involved in some level of wickedness, and he's hearing this pasuk. Yeah. You have an idea?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't prejudge. That may be one of the
Okay, so you're saying that the audience is someone who is looking at a person like this?
right. Looking at a person who's doing evil and saying redemption is always possible.
Okay, right. That's a good point. That is a good point, right?
That's what I was also saying.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Okay, meaning when you can see someone who is pretty bad, and you can write them off as this person is doomed, or this person is definitely going to be a Rasha. There's no hope. But the fact is that they have the power to reform. Okay, so what would the second half be saying then? Let's test it out by doing the second half. Yeah, Rick, you have an answer? No.
Goodness is more firmly implanted in the tzaddik than evil is implanted in someone that's doing evil acts.
Okay, that's a good turn of the phrase. Let me just write that out. Goodness is more implanted in a tzaddik than evil is implanted in a Rasha. Okay, yeah, but I still am not quite seeing I feel like it's not quite practical, the level I like it. Yeah, Ariel?
Can you maybe say that, I don't know if you're allowed to do this in Mishlei.
Look, we're pushing the boundaries of Mishlei here. I mean, this is not a traditional Mishleic idea. I mean,
you said that there are two different audiences, one for the first half and one for the second half.
We could try that and see what happens. Let's see if that helps.
All right. So what your father was saying, I really like that for the first half.
Yeah.
But the second half, can it be talking about someone who actually is wicked? I'm sorry, someone who, the individual in the first half of the pasuk, looking at what? Okay, let's start this way. The first half, I'm going to create a story right now. Like the first half of the pasuk is someone who's observing this individual, and he should help this guy, to do tshuva.
Yeah.
If he's going to listen or whatever, assuming it's the right person, right? Now, let's talk about that specific individual who needs helping. Now he's going to be like, all right, well, I got to find a community or someone to interact with, and he's going to start looking for something, and he stumbles upon the tzaddik system, and he's going to see it.
I'm not following. I hear your story.
I mean, the audience of the second half of the pasuk is the individual who we're talking about in the first half of the pasuk.
Okay. Let me try something. Okay. I think this is going to be a much more elegant solution here. Okay.
Okay.
So the person in the first half is someone who is doing wickedness and thinks that he is rooted in the wickedness, and the pasuk is telling him he's not. Okay. Okay, but it's slightly different than what you were saying. I'm saying that we're not talking to someone who's, you could apply this also to a bystander, but I'm saying this is talking to a person who has been involved in wickedness, and he thinks, okay, I'm too far gone. I'm rooted in my wickedness. And this is saying, no, you're not, right? You still have the potential to become a tzaddik. The second half is talking to someone who is involved in the path of a tzaddik and thinks that he's not going to flourish. Okay. And what this is telling him is no, the fact that you are rooted in this developmental track means that's a sure thing that is firm and solid. In other words, like there are people who start on the path of learning or start on the path of mitzvos, and they get discouraged because they're not seeing the results. But what this is telling you is no, because learning and mitzvos and justice and all these other good developments are an actualization of your nature, so that it has to come to fruition. It might not be a Moshe Rabbeinu, but you are rooted in something real. Whereas you can't say that, for example, let's say you really want to be a basketball player, or you really want to be a pianist, or you really want to be an artist. There is absolutely no guarantee that the endeavor that you're trying out for is actually going to come to success. Maybe you're just not cut out to be a basketball player, but you are cut out to be a truth-seeking justice doer. It's the only question of how far you get. So you're rooted in something real, and that cannot budge. What do you guys think of that?
Do we need two audiences?
No, I'm not saying. Well, okay. I'm saying it's the same. Okay. I hear what you're asking.
I feel like. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just feel like we could say it's like, I feel like we had a pasuk like this a while back. I think at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
And I remember saying this, but like I feel like this could be a guy who's looking at both paths, and he has both pathways open. He's saying, "Oh, look, that guy, I can go do these bad things, right? Or these things that are bad, right? He's gonna say it as bad. Yeah. And look how well off this guy is, right? He's living his best life, right? Mm-hmm. And then he's gonna look at this guy. He's gonna say, "Oh, this guy's struggling every day. He he pounds through the Gemara, and then he goes, oh, I didn't learn enough, and blah blah blah." Right? So you could tell the guy that like it's true that this, because in reality, right, these the base pleasures are going to be they're going to be accessible like pretty easily, and you're going to be able to get it. But you got to tell him that he's not like firmly established in any way, really. I mean, he's not like he's not going to be really satisfied, and it's not going to be a fulfilling life, and he's not actualizing his potential. And you say, but this guy, on the other hand, while in the process it might look very difficult, once you grow the roots and then you actualize that potential of becoming the what is it, a truth-seeking good doer,
justice doer,
justice doer. So like then you can tell him like this is going to be something that's going to ultimately be good for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm actually not. I think it's totally fine to say that this is talking about one person, but for me, my mind is it's clear if you're talking. So let me put it this way: you're talking to a person who's in the middle, who's neither tzaddik nor Russia, and the person who's neither tzaddik nor Russia is involved in some tzaddik behaviors and is involved in some Russia behaviors, and this is telling him this idea. So I'm just going to type out the thing I just said as an extension of Ariel's thing, which is that even as a message to the person who is involved in evil, this is telling him that he can always do teshuvah because he always has that potential as a human being. And then as a message to the discouraged aspiring tzaddik, this is telling him that that unlike the aspiring basketball player / pianist, okay, who has no guarantee, the person who is on the path of righteousness, that's not how you spell righteousness, is definitely actualizing his potential because it's rooted in his nature. And the only question is how far they'll go and how fast they will develop. But the development is guaranteed. Yeah, Rivki?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I know, like, we don't often like connecting psukim, but I feel like this goes well with what we did 2 weeks ago, I think it was, when like we were basically framing it as like an early developmental idea for like stages of whichever way you're gonna end up. And I think that like, it goes very well with that.
Was that the previous pasuk? If it is, then let me just look at it because I kind of don't remember. Yeah, Mishlei 12 to. Oh, did I not save it as? Hold on. Yeah, we said a good person brings out favor from Hashem, and a man of mezimos, which is plotting, conspiring, planning, scheming, will cause evil. And let's. Oh no, we didn't write down our ideas last time. Oh, we did. Wait, no, we didn't. Okay, I'll take your word for it that that's what we meant. Okay, yeah, I don't remember. I don't want to try to reconstruct it now, but if it goes, then good. Okay, all right. I think that let's keep that in the books for now. Okay, Alex has been waiting patiently. Alex, do you have a different approach?
Potentially different, might be similar in some ways.
Sure.
So I used to be into gardening, so I looked this up to confirm, but established plants are actually phrases that are used in botanics and gardening.
Okay.
So an established plant is a new plant whose roots take hold and it shows new growth. So if the whole thing is a metaphor with the botanics running through from the first and second clause, it could be saying that things planted in wickedness, the roots won't take hold and you won't be able to grow in any way. Whereas for tzadikim, the roots are very established and then there is growth potential.
Okay, so the thing that leads me to say that that's a good approach is not the fact that we use the word in English now, although that is interesting. It's the fact that this is a mashal that is used in it's actually used in Tehillim. I don't know if it's used in Mishlei, but hold on, just okay. Well, this is one example. No, that's not the one I want. Hold on just one second here. I think it's in Yirmiyahu. Yeah. Okay. So this is one example. This might not be the best example here. So it says in Yirmiyahu 17:5, Ko Amar Hashem, thus says Hashem, Aruh Agever Asher Yivtach Ba'adam. Cursed is the man who places his trust in human beings, Vasam Basar's Ro'o, and makes flesh his strength, Umin Hashem Yasur Libo, and turns his heart away from Hashem. Now here's the plant mashal. V'haya ka'ar ba'arava, he will be like an RR, which is a juniper ? In the Arava, which is in the desert. Okay, Velo Yire Kiyavo Tov, and he will not see when good comes. V'shachan Chararim Bamidbar, he will dwell in a parched landscape, a parched wilderness. Eretz Malecha Velo Seishev, a salty land with no inhabitants. Okay, salty I think means like completely dry and like no no growth. Okay. Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach B'ad Hashem, Hayad Hashem Yiftacho. Blessed is the man who trusts in Hashem, and Hashem will be his security. V'hayak eitz shasul al mayim. His he will be like a tree that is firmly planted alongside water. So the mashal here is you have streams, and then you've got like trees like on the brook, the side of the river. So in other words, they have access to water. The roots have access to water. The al yuval shalach yeshalach Sharashav. I'm just gonna get the English here because these are all these plant words that I don't know. I'm just gonna look at Art Scroll. Yes, Art Scroll says 17:8. Yeah, he will be like a tree planted near water, which spreads out its roots along a brook and does not see when heat comes, whose foliage is ever fresh. It will not worry in a year of drought and will not stop producing fruit. Right. So that's the producing of growth. So in other words, you can have a tree. So if I understand you correctly, Alex, then you can have a tree that is, oops, hold on just a second here. I mean to open folder. You can have a tree that is in the ground, but it's not actually drawing what it needs and producing new growth. It's just just in the ground, whereas then you can also have a tree that is rooted in the ground and actually like growing and producing new growth. Is that like the essential distinction?
Yeah. Also worth noting, if a plant doesn't establish, it'll eventually slowly die and it'll backtrack.
Okay, that's good. All right, so this is more like the normal Mishlei idea, but it is giving a new angle here. So let's just talk it out here. So what makes and this is what I was chiding Ariel about before. Okay, so what makes it so that the Russia is not going to have this growth, and what makes it that the tzaddik will? Let's just talk it out, even though we've gone over these ideas many times, but we have to see it in this context. Or give an example. You can give an example of this.
Well, it could be that the wickedness by itself is like a condition. So it's not a condition in which one can grow. So it's like soil that doesn't have fertilizer.
Right. So what is it about that soil that makes it not able to grow? You
can't draw anything from it.
Yeah, but okay, that's in the muscles. Right?
Well, potentially by like being hedonistic in your like desires. Okay. You don't end up like reaching for anything that'll like actually help you as a person, and you'll be like just living in the moment. Okay, so I'm gonna let's just root this in a let's just use an example here. So I'm gonna mention a documentary I just started watching, but it's not a good documentary in my opinion. The Bernie Madoff documentary on Netflix that I think was released this week. I don't recommend it. In fact, I stopped watching it because it's too sensationalistic. It makes it sound like I only watched 20 minutes, and in the 20 minutes, it's like every person who they interview was saying like, oh, he was born evil. He was always grubbing for money, but whatever. Nevertheless, Bernie Madoff is an excellent example of a Russia. And one of the facts that they lead with was they just said like $50 billion just disappeared, and what he's doing is, so he's certainly hedonistic in the sense that he maybe hedonistic, not in the pleasure seeking, swimming in gold sense, but like always seeking more and more and more money, more power. So, you cannot satiate those fantasies, right? So in other words, a normal plant has finite needs and will draw from those finite resources to grow. But a Russia has infinite needs and will be drawing from those resources in a way that disrupts the surrounding system. Maybe another example, another Bernie Madoff, but easier to understand, is Scar in The Lion King. The whole muscle of Scar in The Lion King is he completely overhunts. He and his hyenas, I guess hyenas don't hunt. They overhunted the Pride Lands and totally wrecked the entire ecosystem. And then they had nothing to eat and they were all starving. So it's their cravings and their taivas are more than they're not stemming from actual needs. They're stemming from unbridled desires, and they throw the entire system out of whack, which undermines their own ability to get what their actual needs are. So that's what's going on with Russia. Yeah, Chaim?
Yeah, just to clarify what you're saying on that last point, are you saying that the way that this would happen is, let's say somebody has his infinite needs, right? So then he has, in reality, he has a very finite amount of resources.
Yeah. But
he's going to continue to pursue other and seek other avenues to get more finite resources, and that's going to cause him to break the law and scam people, and basically that's going to cause like the breakdown.
Yeah. I guess I am saying it's a combination of both factors. It's a combination of the fact that instead of trying to satisfy his needs instead of trying to satisfy his objective needs via the system that provides objective needs, right? Like that's the idea of is that all God provides all needs for all creatures in terms of in nature. Okay. The Russia is looking for beyond his needs, and that's going to cause him to take more resources from the system than he actually needs and deprive other people of their needs. And when he deprives other people of their needs, there's going to be a certain tipping point where you can't sustain a system like that. He might enjoy wealth, to the point where like he's hoarded everything, but then it's not going to be infinite, and eventually it's going to collapse. So again, that's not a new Mishleic idea, but for me, seeing it in terms of the plant mushel, I think it's a good thing. Is that if you had a plant, if you had such a thing as an evil plant, it would be a plant that took more than it needed from its surroundings, and what would happen is that it would kill itself. Yeah. Yeah, my dad has a point. Yeah.
So Bernie Madoff was the thing that I was thinking of also.
Yeah.
You looked at Bernie Madoff the day before law enforcement closed in on him.
Mhm.
Everyone would have thought this guy is firmly established.
Right.
He has all the accoutrements of wealth and success.
Right.
And so, if the pasuk is speaking to someone outside the Bible, saying, "Don't be fooled. Someone can really look
Right.
firmly established, but
Yeah.
but they could be moments away from
Right.
disaster."
So that is the Havmin. Okay, so let me type this out, because I think that this is I think I can answer another question based on Alex's idea. Perhaps this is why it doesn't use a plant analogy in the first half. Okay, I know Alex wanted to say that it does, that it is using it, but maybe this is the idea here. Okay, I'm going to try typing this out here, which is like this. That a person engaging in wickedness will seek more than they need in an attempt to satisfy their infinite lust for wealth, power, pleasure, etc. And this will lead them to sap the resources of the system around them, which will ultimately lead to their own destruction. Okay. And then there's the point that my dad just said, which is that even if they look stable, they are, it's an illusion, right? It's an illusion because it's built on a sinkhole. Okay, this is also, again, I wasn't alive during this time, but my understanding is that this is what happened with the Soviet Union, is that there was a tremendous fear that everyone thought that the Soviet Union was actually like going to rival the capitalist societies, but it was a relatively sudden collapse because it was built on wickedness. Okay, but with the tzaddik, in contrast, the tzaddikim have roots which only take what they need in a balanced manner from the system around them, which enables them to flourish and maintain a stable existence, while simultaneously enabling the system as a whole to flourish, right? So if you are only seeking what you need, then and you're in a system, then there will be what you need there. And again, obviously there are exceptions to this when wicked people, like if you're a tzaddik in a system of wickedness, then you're not going to get what you need. All things being equal, you're going to get what you need, and you're not going to have unrealistic desires that cause you to deprive others of what they need. And that will allow people to flourish, and you'll have a basis for that. Yeah, Chaim.
Yeah, maybe it's just like the plant mushel, but I feel like this has really helped me understand the idea of like why a clan of a clan. Yeah, sure, I'll use the word clan. Why like a clan of Risharim is like not what's the word? Something that can't continue.
Oh,
like
why they can't continue?
Like a non
permanent? Why it's not permanent? Like
no, it's a different word, but like the point is like it's a it's not gonna last basically.
Yeah.
It's a there's just something that's just like I feel like I've known the idea, but I feel like again maybe I think it's the plant mushel and like just how like they steal resources,
right?
Like they would steal resources from each other. Like it's like why it's God, yeah, whatever, yeah. Why is it not one of those things, Yeah.
No, it's a good mushel. I think that's also why I think in the past we've used the mushel for a virus for Rishayim, because that is what happens with viruses, right? Is that at a certain point when it infects too many people, then it can't survive anymore, so that's the thing. Okay, good. Okay, anyone else have any other approaches? If not, we'll go into the Mefarshim. But I think these are two really good ideas. And I am glad, by the way, that we got this idea from Alex, which is more in line with how my Mishleic intuition was inclined to take the pasuk, which is it's about their success and their failure, or the failure and their success. And Ariel's idea was more of a philosophical idea, which we don't usually see in Mishlei, but it was a good, I think it is a good idea. Now I'm calling it a good idea, Ariel. I'm convinced.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot to my ego.
Oh, well then, then I better back off. Okay. Okay. So I actually
terrible idea, Ariel. Terrible idea.
Okay. So I actually did not usually I have a chance to look over the Mefarshim beforehand, and I did not this time. So let's see what the Mefarshim have to say. Okay. So Metzudas David says, Lo yikon ha'adam lo yihiye nachon b'maseh haresha. A person will not be firm in evil actions. Lo ya'amod al kino uvasiso im hahamon sha'asaf beresha. He will not be established and have a basis with the abundant wealth that he has amassed through wickedness. But the root of tzadikim will not be quick to fall. Af im yipol, even if he does fall, lo yimot ad hashoresh, he will not fall to the root. Ki yachzor v'yakum. Okay, so this is a new idea. Okay, so the first half I think is what we said. Okay, which is that when the Rasha falls, he falls entirely. Okay, and he doesn't have any basis. So when he falls, that there's just nothing left. When a burning Madoff comes crashing down, it's not like he has a thriving support system that will help him. No, he's eliminated everything. But he's saying the tzaddik may fall, okay, but when he falls, then it's not going to be a damaging of the root, okay, and that fact that the root is not damaged will allow him to get up. Okay, I want to just connect this to an idea that's quoted a lot, and then we'll try to understand it here. I think the pasuk is, I don't even know, is it in Mishlei or is it in Tehillim? It's in Mishlei 24:16. Kisheva yipol tzadik v'kam urushaim yikashlu bara'a. A tzaddik falls 7 times and gets up, but the Rishaim will stumble in their evil. Okay, and they will not get up. So I think that's an old idea. But the question is, what does the plant mushal add to that? That they will fall, but their root is not damaged, and the root will continue to flourish. So can we understand that? And I think this is going to be either an extension of Ariel's idea or Alex's idea. I don't think we need to look for a whole new idea from this. But this is really answering another answer for why it is saying another dimension of the plant mushal.
Is it sort of a teshuva idea that if the roots are still intact, then the plant can grow again?
Okay, so we can definitely take it with a tshuva approach. That's taking Ariel's thing, right? So how would that work with the tshuva approach? Yeah, see, the only okay, it's not a problem with what you said. It's a problem with applying it to Ariel's idea, because Ariel's idea, the emphasis was that the Russia could do tshuva also. So we can't take this approach there. So the tzaddik, right? So the tzaddik is always trying to. So if he falls, he's going to continue to strive to seek truth and do justice. And he's not going to change his approach. That's definitely one thing. He's not going to change his approach. Yeah, Chaim?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think what you just said, which is that like falling is part of the process.
Yeah.
And like in that sense, if like a tzaddik or somebody who has the right mindset is like going back to the other pasuk, the reason he's going to keep getting up is because he recognizes that as part of the process. In that sense, like the roots are like the fundamentals and the unmoving truths, I guess, that he's basing his life on.
Yeah.
So again, if he fails at something one day, or if something doesn't go right for a little bit or whatever, insofar as it doesn't touch like his fundamental values,
yeah,
then falling is just part of that is part of the growth process.
Right. Yeah.
But
So
to contrast that with the
yeah,
the
that's what I
Russia
was gonna
though,
ask. Yeah.
yeah, meaning if you don't have that core, then all you have is this like foliage that's above the ground, or not even that per se, but all you have is basically something that's not rooted. So if that gets destroyed, that's all there is.
Right. Right. Like again, in the Bernie Madoff example, what did he have? He had all the money that was being propped up with this Ponzi scheme from everyone else. That's not actually having anything that is internal to him that is going to allow him to rebuild. Right. That's just
Right.
the amassed amount. Or let's say like in the Lion King example, then all Scar has is just like, he created this kingdom through fear, instilling fear in the other animals, and built up power from that. But then when all the resources are gone, that's all he has. He just has that. And then when that fails, then it's just gone. Or Hitler, like being overwhelmed with and losing, and then just still like being in his psychotic delusions of that he's still winning, and then he ends up having to kill himself because there's nothing there. Right.
Right. Meaning it's like as soon as the facade is like torn down, like it's just that. And that's
Right.
all there is. Versus again the tzaddik, where if you knock down, like I'm trying to think of a good example of like a tzaddik like falling in this like in this sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm not really like I don't really have anything yet. But
We
I
should
mean, the
come up with
point,
an example.
yeah. I mean the point I'm trying to say is that like insofar as you don't affect the roots, and I'm not saying that that's impossible to affect the roots, because we see Acher, right? His roots definitely got affected. But insofar as you don't affect the roots, anything you do to anything above that is just going to promote, further growth. And it's actually a fun fact, because we're bringing in like botanical stuff.
Yeah.
When you like trim like hedges or plants or anything, it actually speeds up the growth process.
Right.
And it like kicks in this like whole like repair process of the whatever. So basically, like it's true in the botanical sense, but then also we're saying it's true in the idea sense, in the sense that growth requires setbacks, and it requires getting trimmed.
Yeah.
And again, insofar as you don't touch the roots, you're going to continue to bounce back.
Right. Yeah. Okay, good. I would like an example though. Yeah, Rifki. You have an
Yeah,
idea?
so two things.
Yeah.
The first thing is I think like related to what was just being said. I think also it's interesting when you think about it in terms of like a systemic sense of like a tzaddik is literally implanted in the system, and therefore like we've said this a million times, but he's going to get those benefits of the community around him that they clearly know that they're
Right,
helping.
that's also true. Yeah.
So I think like in the same thing here, like it doesn't use that for the first half of the pasuk. So even if that Russia, like we know, like they feed on fear, like they don't really have like actual support, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's also part of it, is that when you fall, there's not really going to be a support system to help you up, because you're not helping the system, and the system isn't going to want to help you. And I think that the opposite is true for the tzaddik.
Okay, so I'm gonna just I know you said you had 2 points, just to respond to that though first. So that is definitely true. I don't know if this pasuk is talking about that, because it is talking. Well, okay, let me put it this way: the pasuk could be talking about that, but not the way we're learning the pasuk, because we're learning the pasuk as the roots are talking about the values of the tzaddik that he's operating on, not the surrounding community, which we have talked about before. So I think that is a true Mishleic idea. Perhaps you could learn the pasuk that way if you learn the roots to be like the thing. I just don't think we're currently learning it that way. You see what I'm
I
saying?
think I was just thinking it because of I think it relates more to like the growth oriented, like what we were, the other pasuk, I don't remember which perek it's in.
Yeah.
I feel like you could learn this in it. Like I agree
feel like
with
you could also, there's definitely potential for that. Yeah. All right. And what was the second point you're going to make?
So the second point was, I think it's more on the second idea.
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting. I'm not like a plant expert. I think it's cool. I just for some reason kill my plants, but I do know this, I'm pretty sure. Is that obviously like plants that are firm and established, not like too much, like you were saying, like Lion King example, but plants that are established do help like the system around them. And I think that like a flower or whatever, like that spreads pollen, well, like that's firm and that helps the system around them. And then a plant that isn't established, I think like was said at some point that like they could die and then blah, blah, blah. So I think like that's also interesting in terms of a plant, of what a plant actually does.
Right. Yeah, that's good. And by the way, just a side point about the plant thing. you'll notice the more you learn Nevi'im, and I haven't learned very many Nevi'im, but like it does use plant mashalim a lot for Klal Yisrael. And I think that's for several reasons. Part of it is just the idea of development, but I think also part of it is it's a good mashal for righteousness. Es Semach David. Like we Semach is a plant. Yeah, Chaim.
Yeah, so I was thinking of an example for what I was saying before, and I think if we just take the money example, like Bernie Madoff, right?
Yeah.
So let's say maybe not Bernie, because like I don't know but let's say two people invest in the stock market.
Yeah.
Right. So you have the Tzaddik and the Russia. So, and I'm in this example, I'm going to say that like this is in regards to like how they view money. So the person who views like a tzaddik who views money as it is, which is a means to an end, and that's all that it really is.
Yeah.
Like when the market crashes, he's gonna say, okay, so I'll take this hit, right? But it's not something that like defines me. It's not something that I find real value in, qua money, right?
Right.
But the Russia is gonna go, oh my God, I just lost $50,000.
I lost my identity. I was
exactly,
and now I am not
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like his power is like his sense of power is gone. His sense of like of worth is gone. Like literally, right? Like his accessibility to things that he feels he needs is gone. Versus the tzaddik is going to say, okay, I lost a means of helping myself fulfill greater ideals, but like there are many other mechanisms to get to where I want to be, and it's not in the end of the day all about the money.
Yeah, a good example of that is Yosef was top of the line in Potiphar's house, and he gets put in jail, and that doesn't crush him. He just still keeps operating on Chachma, and he gets out, and he just operates on Chachma, and then like it ends up like he's turning to God and using his Chachma, and then not letting that get him down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's do just do a couple more and see here. Revina Yona. Lo yikon adam beresha v'shor tzadikim v'gor im tir Russia v'tovlo. If you see Russia and good stuff is happening to him, da shalo timashech shalvaso. You should know that his tranquility will not last. Lo yikon adam beresha. His person will not be established in wickedness. She mashech tov lazaro. Okay, this is a different approach. And now that I'm remembering, I think this is an approach that many of them take. That the goodness will not continue on to his offspring. Ki ein achris l'Russia. There will be no lasting end to the Russia. K'derech shekasuv, as it's written later on. Ki lo tiye achris l'ra. There's no lasting outcome to the ra. V'shorish tzadikim ba'imot. The root of tzadikim will not falter. Im tavor alav tala'a v'tzara. If some misfortune and tragedy befalls him, lo yimot shorasho la'olam. His shorish will not falter forever. Ki achris v'tikva aruchos elav ushmuros bakol, because there's an end and a hope that is set up for him and preserved for everyone. Okay, I don't know what that is, but I think I saw other people say this idea also, that it's talking about their legacy or their kids. Let me just quickly see if I can find anyone who takes that approach.
Could you say that that what Ravina Yona could be getting at is that somebody who, like, again, the Russia is not going to be, I assume, is not going to be believing in, like ideas of like Olam Haba.
Yeah.
And that to him, like, his whole legacy is whatever can carry his name on. But at the end of the day, like, if that's your legacy, it's not going to last forever because everybody gets forgotten.
Right.
Versus the tzaddik who's living in line with, like, he himself is going to continue. So, like, if that's your legacy, then like that's firmly grounded in existence.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that is a good idea. I totally forgot to put the Meiri on my my source sheet. Sorry, Meiri. Let's see what Meiri says. Very short. Zosan haga lo yichon leneged akal. V'shorsh tzadikim rosh lomer hashorsh ha'amiti v'amud asher habayis not gonna love, the true root and the pillar that the house is built on lo yimod le'olam va'ed. So he connects it to the previous ones. Okay, so he doesn't really explain it. Yeah, okay, fine. Let's just do one more. Let's do the Malbim, because I don't know what he says, but it looks interesting. All right, yesh hevdel bein ken uven shor. So he says there's a difference between a ken, which is a basis, and a shor, which is a root. Shehaken hu basis hanaaseh ledavar betalosh. Ken is a basis for something that is not rooted in the ground, like a platform. I think Kamo kior nechoshes v'kano nechoshes, like the laver and its basis. It's a copper basis. Okay, so in other words, the laver is not something that has roots, but you're putting it on top of the ken. Shadavar omed haken al yidei haken. Okay. Vashoresh hu b'mechubar. Shoresh is something that's attached. V'hu davar misachet im ha'anafim. It's something that is unified with the branches. V'harushaim ein lahem shoresh. Rushaim don't have a root. Ki shoresh adam hu lamala b'makom tahara. The shoresh of a person is above in a place of purity. Sha'adam doma ke'etz hafuch. A person is like an upside down tree. Shesharashav lamala, whose roots are above. V'hu hamoach, which is the brain. Shehu shoresh adam, which is a person's root. Brainstem, another plant mashal now. V'hu natua ba'olam haseichal. A person is planted in the world of intelligence. Shemisham mikabel shefa'o, and he receives its influence from the place of intelligence. V'tzadik davak b'sharasho ha'elyon. Tzadik is clinging to his higher root. Lochein harasha shenichras misharasho ha'elyon. Not so with the rasha who's cut off from his higher root. V'hu omed haken al olam hachomeri b'gufa levad. He is standing. His basis. V'hu omed haken. He establishes his basis on the physical world with his body, like something that is detached, that is on a basis. But that basis can also falter because it's not rooted in anything. Since his wealth is accumulated through wickedness. But the tzadikim have a root. Vigufo or Venufo. Where's Nufo? Unless that's a typo. Nota lamakom tuma. V'hagam sha no, it's a nof. Nof is I thought it was a. Where's a nof? I forgot what the word nof means. Like har nof. Nof. Nope. Nof. View. Is that true? Venufo nota lamakom tuma. V'hagam shanof yismotet. That can't mean what it means. L'famim el atzad hashorsh lo yimot v'hum b'makom tara v'makom kiyum ha'olam haruchani. V'yizeh gam hanof yate achar hashorsh. Let me just look up nof in biblical Hebrew. Hold on just a second here. I think I get the idea. The main approach though. Nof. I don't know why I typed hanof. Let's see if we can find this. No, let me just look up. Yeah, so let's get what he's saying so far. So I like his distinction in the mashal. So he's saying there's a platform, which is oh, here we go. No, that's too far. All right, this is not gonna help. Yeah, so he's saying that there is a platform. There's between a platform or a basis and a root, right? So the Russia has no platform, but the tzaddik has a root. Russia has no platform because he's disconnected. So he certainly doesn't have a root either. So he doesn't have a root because he's disconnected himself from the world of truth. And so all he has is his body, which is resting on this material basis. But for all the reasons we explained, that's not guaranteed and that could be removed because it's not attached to anything. Whereas the tzaddik is rooted in the world of ideas and the world of truth. And that's where he's drawing his nourishment from. I mean, I think it's possibly I'm saying a different idea, but I think it does fit in with the way that we were explaining with Alex's idea. He's just explaining it with the words ken and shoresh in a nice way. It's possibly saying something else, but I think that's what we got for now. Okay, so we did end up getting two ideas. Let me just summarize this verbally, even though I wrote it down here. So Ariel's idea is about a person's relationship to wickedness is not as permanent as a person's relationship to righteousness. That with wickedness, even if you are involved in wickedness, since evil is not a thing, it's a lack of a thing, then there is, and since you as a human being always have the potential as a Tzelem Elokim, as a truth-seeking justice doer, so then you can get out of your wickedness. And that's why we say that the doors for tshuva are always open. So don't tell yourself I'm too far gone, and don't say about someone else that they're too far gone. There is always a hope of that, because you cannot actualize as a Rasha. You can only actualize as a tzaddik. And on the other hand, the tzaddik is rooted in something real, like a seed, or like roots that sprout into a tree. So if a person is discouraged, if they're involved in the path of Torah and mitzvos and righteousness, and they're discouraged, don't think, oh, maybe I chose the wrong path, because you are on a path that is real and has roots. It's just a question of how far you get and how fast it'll take, but you are rooted in something real. And so don't let that discourage you. And same thing with other people. Don't let that discourage you from giving up hope in them. Then there's Alex's idea, which is the fact that the Russia is not firmly established in anything, because like an invasive species, that is spiraling out of control, it is consuming. Well, even invasive species are consuming based on their needs. The rush is worse than an invasive species. He's consuming beyond his needs in a way that destroys all the resources around him, and then deprives him of those resources, and then he collapses and can't get up again, because he's completely destroyed everything. So even if he looks stable, it's only a matter of time before he falls. Whereas the tzaddik has roots, which means that he's taking what he needs in a measured way from the resources around him, which will enable him to flourish and enable them to flourish. And even if he gets knocked over, he's oh, I guess we're mixing two ideas. That's Mitzudas David. What we were saying is that he is that he's gonna take his needs from the system in a way that leads to his flourishing, and will only get better. Then there's the Mitzudas David's idea that had to do with, even if he's knocked down, he'll get back up again, because the roots are still implanted. His fundamental approach and the ideas that he's relating to don't change, whereas the Russia's whole identity and value system is in his accomplishments. So when those are knocked down, he's got nothing anymore. Right, those are the three nice ideas. Okay, very good. Okay, so yeah, again, if you have any more thoughts, then feel free to share them in that Mishlei after party chat. Alex, I can add you if you want. And I am not going to be giving shiur next Monday or the Monday after, and then the 30th I'll have to let you know. There's a likelihood I won't, so if you have to plan, then plan on there being no shiur, because I'll be coming back from the red eye, but we'll see what happens.
I have a comment for all your students, please.
Okay.